Welcome back, fans of entrepreneurship. My name again is JDavis, and we continue to stream stories of leadership, entrepreneurship. And, during these times when I'm in boards or strategic meetings of any kind of consumable industry, the topic of cannabis always comes up. So I'm really excited about these two guests. Dennis O'Carroll, founder and CEO of Greenlight Distribution, and Shawn Nichols, Senior Director of International Business Development at Valiant. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thanks. So why don't you tell me about what both of you are doing?
Lead with a good foot, Dennis.
Yeah, sure. So I'll touch on two things real quick, Jeffrey. So we've got Greenlight Distribution, and kind of in a nutshell, what we do is we sell cultivation equipment and supplies to cannabis companies across the U.S. And we combine that with another business that we have called Suite 420 Solutions that provides debt financing to cannabis companies. So you can imagine if you've got a big cultivation facility, you're trying to grow a lot of marijuana, you need a lot of equipment, you might need real estate, et cetera. Financing is an important component to that. So unless people have, big fat bank accounts with millions of dollars sitting in it, they often need to ask about financing as well.
Interesting.
That's on me.
Shawn, you want to add anything?
Oh, yeah. So in addition to what Greenlight and Suite 420 does for the cannabis industry, Valiant adds its design and construction management capabilities, putting wonderful things in the world, as we like to refer to it. More than a decade specifically in cannabis with cultivation facilities, dispensaries, different retail entities, and structures really built around the idea of building out the industry in a better way with better practices and better purposing. So we through our conversations and through our clients saw a need to align ourselves appropriately with people that were doing similar things in the industry from an equipment and equipment finance standpoint. And Greenlight Suite 420, the Dennis O'Carroll has been great for that.
So, the industry is just changing so dramatically. At the beginning, it was the wild, wild west. We're still not federal, it's still not a federal business. And it seems like there has been a flushing out of what I would call these sort of startup entrepreneurs in your industry. And I'm wondering how you gentlemen would characterize the current state of the industry and what you see happening in the next 2 years. Because for us casual observers, you are a very interesting industry to track.
Yeah.
Got to be you, Dennis. Got to be
yes. you. So it's a great question, one we get all the time. And while we've only been in the industry since the beginning of 2018, out here, we started in Colorado, things change very quickly. As you mentioned, this industry is maturing at a rate that I don't know, we've seen an industry mature. And, in the very early days, in particular on the lending side, we would see, it was the guys that like to get high, thinking they can grow marijuana and sell marijuana. And over time, they realized they were good at doing one thing, which is consuming it. They weren't necessarily good business people. So we've definitely seen, a maturation process and more professionalism coming into the industry. And that's bleeding over into not just the lending, but also, when we're looking at cultivations, they're much more professionally managed and run. They understand their business, they understand their costs, they understand their metrics. And we think it's only going to continue. I will throw out kind of one of the wrinkles that we do see is certain states, I'm going to pick on Oklahoma for the moment. You talk about the wild, wild west. Because of the way Oklahoma is set up, pretty much anybody can get a license to do anything in marijuana for $2,500. And so
Wow.
You saw a ton of people come in, for $2,500, like I can grow some marijuana, right?
Sure.
And that, unfortunately, in the regulations and the oversight wasn't very good. It hasn't been very good. So there's been this glut of illegal weed on the market. And so that does, bad things for all the legal operators out there, the people that are trying to play by the rule book. And so what we'd like to see over the coming years is the individual states take a more serious approach to regulating the industry, both the legal and illegal markets, so that, what is it going to do if they regulate and eliminate some of those illegal businesses? It's going to push more people to the legal side, which means more jobs, more tax dollars, safer products, et cetera. So that's what we hope happens. We'll see if it plays out that way.
And Jeffrey, just to add to that, from the construction side, we're seeing the need. We've come long enough in life cycling now to, like you said, kind of, weed through the power players, the folks that got in and did it as fast as they could, as expensive as they could. And what we're seeing now from the backside is a need to go back and do it the right way. It's work. And work added to already, a growing workload. So we'd like to be able to get out in front of it. We'd like to be able to come in a design, phase. We'd like to be able to have early conversations about the type of facilities being built, and their life cycles and their ability to be assets moving forward, to be able to borrow money against, to be able to, have an exit strategy with. I think early on the need was so great that there was a lot of haste in what was being built. From our perspective, going forward, it's got to be better. It's got to be more sustainable, and something that you can build a business plan around.
Are both of you still bullish on the industry? Again, we're still in the early stages, or are you a little bit more guarded than you would have been a few years ago?
Yeah, right now, you're alluding to the fact that the industry is kind of in a funk, and there's no disputing that. If you look at, really across the board, every aspect of the industry is down right now.
Stressed.
Yeah, and in most states, not all states. So you still have the newer states where they have limited licenses. A lot in the Northeast is still pretty strong. But there's been we talked about this oversupply, and it's not just from illegal producers, but the legal producers, which has driven down the cost quite dramatically in a lot of states. And so in the near term, we think it's going to continue to be pretty rough. We're going to see a lot of shakeout, especially in the older states like Colorado. We expect to see a lot of businesses that were weaker and didn't have scale. There's a good chance they're not going to make it through this downturn. But over the next 3, 5, 10 years, incredibly bullish. I think it's going to be a very exciting industry to be a part of, and we've tried to position ourselves to be a responsible player for the industry for the long term.
I think that's a good perspective. It's really you're taking the long view. That taking the short view isn't the way to do it. But it's just interesting. I was speaking to an entrepreneur just yesterday that talked to me about how illegal sales were affecting legal sales, and how sophisticated some of the illegal salespeople have become in terms of their marketing around the system, and that's an industry that's developed recently. I am sure that there's going to be some shakeout on that too.
Nothing recent about it. I think there's certainly
they were here before,
right? It's out. The exact words out of my mouth. There was the realization that this community existed everywhere, and even in places that have not quite yet embraced the legality of the plan. And with that respect, we, like Dennis said, we try to create the ecosystem for success. Eliminating the percentage of a chance wherever we can of failure, and it's to build a better model. It's to, really set a standard, because this does exist illicitly. It's also something that, coming in as a legitimate business, you have to contend with. And what you want is to, bring those folks over into an entrepreneur role, and that's where we're seeing social reform and equality-based licensing, giving opportunities to folks that may or may not have those in the very competitive landscape that is cannabis licenses. And Dennis alluded to having a portion of the Suite 420 Solutions company go out and seek out these opportunities. We're actively doing the same thing as a company, and that's really trying to do our part to obviously to grow the industry, but to do it in what we feel as a fair and just manner. So,
well, I just find it all very exciting. I'm a groupie for entrepreneurship, and I just love the stories. And we're going to be doing this, continuing this segment on marijuana. throughout the year on Radio Entrepreneurs. We're going to be calling it Completely Cannabis with Valiant, and we're looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a very topical subject for our listeners. They're going to want to follow it for many reasons, just because it is a story of entrepreneurship in a major process, and we look forward to that. But before that, if anybody right away wants to check in on the two of you, Dennis and Shawn, how would someone find you and connect with you?
Yeah, pretty straightforward for us. You can check us out on our website, growwithgreenlight.com or suite420solutions.com, SUITE 420.
Thank you.
And
And
Jeffrey, we're over at valiantamerica.com, valiant-america.com, and handle is Valiant America, no spaces on Instagram. If you want to find us out there on social, interact with us. We've got some cool things coming up, like you said, and excited to start talking to people about it. So,
well, I grew up right away. I remember being a Valiant fan. I grew up watching a black and white TV show about a guy called Valiant. And then my father, from my first memory, drove a car called a Valiant with a push button dashboard. So, I mean, I'm always
that
been a
level
Valiant
of
fan.
success, that's what we have to live up to.
Right.
We take it seriously every day, Jeffrey, and it's an honor to get to work with folks like Dennis, and
Right.
his team. So,
well, we look forward to working with you through the year, and we expect this to be a very informative show. Remind everybody, all topics are open for entrepreneurship on Radio Entrepreneurs. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.